it's Sue, and today I did the letter J for the alphabet challenge. Let's get right into it. Alright, so today was the letter J, as I just told you in the intro, and for this one, I felt it only right to pick Jim Hawkins from Treasure Planet, because that is one of my sister's favorite movies, and she requested I draw this character. My original idea was to draw Jesus for J, because, he's the best person who starts with J. But he's not fictional, and then I realized I can't really group him with a bunch of fictional characters because that would make him seem kind of fictional, maybe to outside sources, and I couldn't do it, so I ended up drawing Jim Hawkins. I also feel a lot of pressure when thinking about drawing Jesus because I want to do him justice and all this, and I felt a little bit more at ease drawing this guy, so I did that. I do not love this drawing, and that's basically because I'm comparing it to the art style it was in the movie, because that's what I do when I draw characters and it's not 3D. I want them to look in the art style that they are, as long as I like the art style. So it's really weird when they don't look like that. I just tried to stay true to my style and not change it, because I'm supposed to be drawing these characters in my style. I drew him on his glider thingy. So yeah, I really like the way the glider thing has these honeycomb holographic textures, and they're yellow. I kept trying to shrink this guy's head for some reason. It was so big, and it's still kind of large, but there's only so much you can do when you have an art style that draws big heads. The sketch didn't take me too long, and I did scale it up to help the composition, and I do it even more later. I ended up changing the way his arm is a little bit to match more with the reference I was looking at. I flipped the canvas and did a quick thing. Added a second sketch where I pulled his hair back more, because if the wind was whipping it, he wouldn't want it in his eyes, so I moved it over on his forehead, and it still looks like it's being pushed by the wind. I also tried to make him look pretty determined and he knows what he's doing. So I did that. Made sure to add some color to his eyes. I don't usually do that, but I did it in this case because he has blue eyes and I wanted to show that. Drew his ear. I stuck more true to the style of the movie with the ear, because I don't like how I draw the insides of ears. So I just tested how they did it. Don't love it either, but there's only so much you can do. I added his collar on his jacket, and I really like Jim's outfit. It's got the baggy pants and the jacket. I just love the silhouette of it, but I sadly could not fit the whole outfit in here, which is kind of a shame, but I still kind of like the picture, so that's okay. I did the glider in the background and then moved on to the line art because I had nothing else really to do after touching a couple things up, because I could not see under the other sketch. I end up moving his whole face later, so it's more on the middle of his head rather than on the side of his head. It turns out there was a lot more touch-ups I wanted to do with this picture, because again I was comparing it to the Disney movie rather than what I should have been doing, which was just drawing. And I finally was able to move on to the line art. I tried to add a lot of detail with the line art in this one, but I didn't add quite as much as I did with Hera. So I ended up adding even more detail with the shading, and I do think that makes it look a little bit better. I decided not to put his earring on this side. I kind of wanted to include it, but in the movie it's on the other side, and I decided to not put it on this side. So, there's that. I drew in his eyes and everything, and I looked up a reference of a braid for his braid thing, and the reference I was looking at, the braid was coming out of the jacket. It was really weird, but I moved it up just because I feel like it would be coming out of his head, like hair does, and it was blowing back on the wind, so I knew it was coming out of the jacket, because it would have been higher up if it was attached to the head, but it wasn't, so I had to change that, and I end up moving where the braid connects down even further. I drew in his arm, jacket, and all that stuff, and then I was ready to move on to the rendering. I selected the colors directly from the show because I really like the color scheme, and I end up coloring the line art because I really like the kind of soft look of it, and I always make the line art a little too dark, or light I mean, so I end up having to darken it every single time I fill in one of these areas because you can barely see it, and I end up darkening everything a little bit more with a filter just because I feel like it wasn't quite popping the way it should. But I do really love the soft look of the colored line art. I think the last time I colored line art was like the beginning of last year when I did like some green fan art, and I really like the way that looked. But like when I do colored line art, I want to do like thicker line art because it just, you know, stands out a little bit more. But I don't know when I'll do that again because I also like black line art. Here's where I darkened it up a little bit, and then I was ready to move on to the rendering, and I started by adding a maroon color for shading over the top of it because I wanted it to fit in with the color scheme, and then I added a basic highlight, and this was kind of all the rendering they did for the scene I was looking at for the shading, but I come in and add shadows like I usually do, going closer to the red for the color and getting a little darker. I tried to define the planes of the face a little bit, and I ended up coming back to the face later and making it look better in my opinion. And I feel like I could have done a little bit better with this hand, but there's nothing I can do about it now. I continue to shade all the colors in this manner, going a little closer to the red and getting darker with the color. And I added some more hairlines to his hair to make it look a little more detailed, trying to just add some more interest. I made sure that the braid got pretty dark back there because it was a like behind his head and a little bit further away from the light coming off of the board thingy, what's it called, glider. After this, I was pretty much ready to move on to the second rendering layer, though I did blend out the thing on his cheek to make his cheek not look so hard. I forgot his scar up until now, so I put that in, and I also had to add in the color for his little hair tie thing, though it's not that noticeable because it's such a dark green. Quickly adding in the second shading layer, I added shading anywhere I forgot to add shading before, and anywhere I wanted shadows to be darker. So under the neck, behind the head, I made sure to add some more to the hair, kind of adding some more hairlines. I made sure to darken up the braid a lot more, and I defined some of the wrinkles on the clothing a little bit more with it, just to add some more to it. After I finished this, I was pretty much ready to add some more highlights. So I added an add layer and then added a not blended out highlight. So it was more hard edged. And I added it to anything that would be having the light. So on his brow, on his hair, on his clothes, and then I lowered the opacity. I then rendered the eyes, which I just did some basic shading, added a white highlight. And I ended up coming back and adding a little bit more color to the eyes later. I also shaded in the teeth. Then I went in and added some light to the background. And I didn't go too overboard with the background, and I ended up blurring a lot of it out later with a moving blur, since he is like flying through the sky at super speed. So you don't see much of it in the end. To add a little bit more detail, I ended up adding in some hair wispies to the hair, so I could kind of like make it like, flyaways stuff, just to add some more motion to it and to make it look a little more detailed. And then I went in and added some more highlights to him, and this gave me the idea to kind of blend out his face a little bit more. So I added some more highlights or shadows around the nose with a airbrush, and I think it made it look a lot better. I added a little bit more shading around the eyes on the second layer, and I forgot to add some under the nose, so I made sure to do that. And I added a little bit around the mouth. And at this point I was pretty much done, so I saved the image as a PNG and then imported it in there. Made the composition tilted, didn't like that, so I brought it in, just scaled it up a little bit. I changed the brightness to be a little bit more, added some more color balance, mainly heading towards the reds, and then I added a moving blur, but it wasn't working because it was blurring everything. So I duplicate the layer, add the moving blur, and then use the airbrush to erase around it, so the moving blur is on the edges instead of on his face, so you can still look at his face without, not being able to focus. Then I added a little bit of a darker color, and at this point the picture was done. I really like how it turned out, and I hope my sister likes it too, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye!